This here is the homepage of the FDA, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. At the top there it says on October 1st, 2024, the FDA began implementing a reorganization impacting many parts of the agency. We're in the process of updating FDA.gov content to reflect these changes. Now keep in mind, Donald Trump and his crazy MAGA supporters are now in charge of the FDA, Department of Health and Human Services, and all these various agencies. Why is that important? Because big business hates government oversight. They hate it. And they actually want to end government oversight. While this is going on, the FDA has elevated Walmart's Marketside broccoli florets recall to its most urgent category. The recall, which began in December, affects stores in more than 20 states. Health officials warn that Listeria Monocytogenes pose a serious risk, particularly for women, newborns, and older adults. Marketside broccoli florets, best by date December 10, 2024. This is the lot code BFFG 327A6. BFFG 327A6. Walmart posted this statement on its website. Walmart and Sam's Club are committed to the health and safety of our customers and members and to providing products that are safe and compliant, all supported by our health and wellness, product safety, and food safety professionals. In the event of a product recall, we work swiftly to block the item from being sold and remove it from our stores and clubs. Now remember, the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon-in-chief Donald the Con Trump what he's been trying to do is whack government oversight. Where Republicans always yell and complain about, oh, too much red tape, too much regulation. We need to allow business to move forward. They're doing that in the FDA. They're doing that in the EPA. And this could have deadly consequences for consumers. Now, while the FDA is doing this, another issue, hundreds of thousands of dead ducks. That's right, in this country, washed up on the southern Lake Michigan shore. Those deaths are said to be from the ongoing bird flu outbreak. The USDA, their Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, announced on Wednesday that they found an unprecedented strain of bird flu in dairy cattle. Before this detection, all 957 reported cases of bird flu infections among dairy cattle this year were caused by the same strain. Now, since April, nearly 70 people in the U.S. have contracted bird flu, with most cases occurring among farm workers. Now, again, when you start taking all of these things in the aggregate, you would think that you would want more inspectors, more people making sure the food supply in the United States is safe. Nope. They want less oversight. Joy Cheney is founder of Joy Strategies, joining us out of D.C. Daniel Blackman, former Biden appointee, founder of Renaissance 94 out of Atlanta, Zabora Glider, DEIA consultant and employment specialist. Glad to have all three of you here. This is the thing, Joy, I'm telling you, people need to understand. When Republicans talk about too much regulation, too much red tape, too much government oversight, they want to allow big business to do whatever they want when it comes to our food, when it comes to the water, when it comes to the air quality.
That's right. I mean, when we say that we're turning into an oligarchy, that's what we mean. We mean when corporations are prioritized over people, that's what we mean. When we were telling you that Donald Trump didn't, I'm going to say, give a damn about you, that's what we meant. And it's not just on a few issues here and there. It's on all the things that you don't think about. I think we've shielded the American people for far too long about what government really does for them. Why people, we're not trying, well, maybe now, but we're not trying to keep people in the United States. People are trying to come here because it's safe. When you eat food, it's not perfect, but when you eat food, you can relatively be assured you're not going to get sick. When you walk into a building, you know it's going to stand up straight. It's not going to fall down. We have standards, and those things come through regulation. And when you have an unregulated industry, people run amok. We saw that with the housing crisis, right? They created a product that wasn't regulated. And so businesses' goal is just to make more money. Just to make more money. And they never ask, is what they're doing harmful? Not only are they doing this to the FDA, I know we're talking about food, but these are people, if you look at Project 2025, they want to make it easier for children to work, to invalidate our child labor laws. They're coming for all progress from the 20th century that is aimed at making the world safer, because sometimes that means that we pull the reins on business a little bit. So this was to be expected.
Right.
These are the kinds of things the Americans didn't realize they were voting for, but they weren't.
Well, the reality is, Daniel, we saw it last in terms of when they got rid of food inspectors. And that's critically important for people to understand. And they want to see more people fired. And that's what we have to understand what is at play here.
Yeah, I don't think, Roland, and I'd agree with Joy as far as it's concerned with where we're heading as a country. But look, coming from the previous administration and the work that we were able to do in briefings, in making sure inspectors were in place, going back to 2015, there was a policy, the Safe and Accurate Food Labeling Law, that was spearheaded by the food and beverage industry. It was dubbed the DARK Act. And so this is not something new out of a Republican playbook. We've seen this time and time again where our health, our food, our production of our food, the health of our citizens, especially in most vulnerable communities, are compromised. And who suffers the most? People in marginalized communities, people that look like those of us on this call, those that are in rural parts of our country. When you look at the COVID-19 impact, most of the pre-existing conditions was what led to the actual deaths at high rates amongst Black and brown citizens. So I think today, when we talk about FDA, when we talk about the mass departure that the Musk-Trump administration is trying to perpetuate, I think that causes a much bigger problem, because when you ask individuals that are already understaffed, remember, for those of your listeners, Roland, that are watching and viewing today, these positions are already understaffed. Like when I was as regional administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency, we were already trying to catch up, and that's every agency. So when you're asking thousands of people to take a buyout or whatever it is they're trying to accomplish, it compromises and further separates us from being able to do the right thing and regulate and monitor, which is what they were hired to do. And career employees and those in the federal government suffer more, and we end up paying for it with our lives.
Zabor, look at this story here. This is from 2019, okay? The first time the idiot was in office. Headline: Trump administration allows pork slaughterhouses to have fewer USDA inspectors. The new rule also allows plants to run their processing lines as fast as they like. This is the kind of oversight that is needed. This is what it said right here. The new rule will let factory workers, rather than USDA inspectors, remove unsuitable carcasses and trim defects in plants that opt into the new inspection system. You're going to leave it up to the company to do it? We know what they're going to do is they're going to try to rush through as much as they can to make as much money as they can.
No, for sure. You're seeing it in all agencies across the board, from the Federal Aviation Agency to this, with us removing ourselves from the World Health Organization. Like, they're doing things and they're not thinking about how those things are, well, I'm going to say they're not thinking about it. They don't care about how those things affect everyday people. And when you don't have government oversight, everybody does what they want to do. And it's about money. It's not about people. We've got so far away from just being moral compass centered, like what happened to caring about our people, making sure that we have everything that we need. So many different viruses are going around right now, from the different types of flus to all of these things that are happening with food. And then they're not even allowing us to know what's going on. They're reduced their briefings to let us know what's happening with the CDC and the scientific reporting. So they say they want little government in our affairs, but it seems like very big government in our affairs to me.
Yeah, but here's the deal, and this what ticks me off. So all these conservatives, they love talking about government overreach. Yeah, we're tired of we're tired of government being in our lives. You know, we believe the free market system, what the free market system can do, and things along those lines. Yet when you look at what we've had salmonella outbreaks. Right. We've had I'm sitting here right now. So go to my iPad. You see outbreak investigation of salmonella, June 12, 2024. Outbreak investigation of salmonella eggs, September 13th. And you see the different responses. And so folks these companies always yell and scream. And I was yell and scream, Daniel. Oh my goodness, we just want to overreach. No. They're trying to maximize profits. And they've actually run charts. You know what? We can tolerate a certain number of deaths or illnesses and we maximize profits. That's what's going on here. Let me know when Daniel's camera's straight. I'm gonna go to Zabor first. But that's what's going on here, and that's what they're doing. Zabor, I'm gonna go to you first. They want to maximize profits, and they don't care, and they got no issue if there's going to be an outbreak. And then the same folks who are whining and complaining are the same people. Where was the government? Why didn't they stop this?
Exactly. Or you see them saying this is a conspiracy like they did with COVID. Is the minority communities and marginalized communities are the ones that are really impacted, but the individuals that are voting to have these individuals in office and to run things, they're acting like they can't see it. They're just having a willful ignorance over knowing that you are creating things that are going to have long lasting impact for our communities. And you don't want to have any social services towards those communities. So we get sick. You already have awful health care for these marginalized communities. And you're not doing anything to regulate the individuals. You're taking away, closing all of these offices, putting people out of jobs when they're already understaffed. They're already not being able to communicate with the public the way they would typically communicate. So it's just every problem is exacerbating the last problem.
Can I just jump in to say this?
Actually, hold on one second, Joy, because I'm going to go to Daniel. Daniel, talk about that. You talked about working in the EPA. There's a reason when we have people whose job is to inspect water samples, air samples, all those things, because they have deadly consequences. And when someone dies from poisoning, I'm sorry, you can't bring them back. And then people say, well, there's no amount of money. Well, this is what happens when you let corporate lawyers take over departments, take over agencies who do the bidding of the companies where they came from.
That's right. And here's the thing, what people don't realize is how critical the previous administration's bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act, by which in the first 9 days, President Trump passing executive orders to completely disseminate what was in place in critical infrastructure areas. A lot of Trump supporters are going to feel this as well, because here's the thing. In the southeastern United States, in rural areas like in Mississippi and Alabama and Kentucky, where they are still recovering from floods, Tennessee and the Carolinas, these are areas when you take away the ability for us to inspect these things, those are the communities and individuals that are going to suffer the most. Now, granted, we're going to all suffer as a country, but I think one of the things that you bring up that's so critical, Roland, is when you start thinking about how the long-term effects are in removing critical individuals. We are one extreme weather event, one pandemic, one situation away from complete collapse, because you're taking individuals away whose career, their lives are built on protecting the public health and the public safety of the environment. When cities like Jackson, Mississippi's water infrastructure was on its way to being repaired, rebuilt, and restored, are now having to suffer with the current administration and saying that's no longer a priority, or areas like Lowndes County, Alabama, or Mobile, Alabama. These are communities where when you talk about that previous image you posted about the pork industry and how they want to speed through and rush through the regulatory process. This causes irreparable damage. And when low and moderate income communities that depend on their public health facilities in their areas that are underfunded, understaffed, and quite frankly, don't have the resources to respond, you are going to see a greater and a faster decline within our public health system. And lastly, you look at which we haven't talked about, the CDC, members of the CDC, workers, career employees have just stated that if Robert Kennedy Jr. is confirmed within the Senate, over 1,000 of them are talking about leaving their jobs. The last thing we need outside of food security and food safety and inspectors is to lose the very people that study pathogens, diseases, and protect our communities from the types of pandemics that we've recently experienced.
Joy, real quick, go.
Let me just be clear to reiterate. They have actuaries who determine if they take a certain policy, how many people are going to die. If they have a lawsuit based on those deaths, how much it's going to cost them. Okay.
Right. That's what I said earlier. I mean, this is well known in business where they actually do that.
Yeah. That's right. But that money does not go back to you. So if you are an employee in that company or you're a shareholder or somehow you think this is going to benefit you, it won't.
No. It's not going to benefit workers, but it will benefit shareholders. And that's the whole point.
It will benefit shareholders,
when the companies
but it will not benefit consumers.
When the companies say everything is in the interest of shareholder value, it is about them. It is not about workers, and this is what they do. They don't care about how it hurts people. They have put a price tag on what's an acceptable number of illnesses or deaths.
Correct. But when your company fails, because ultimately you lead to some kind of outbreak, some kind of disaster, it will impact shareholders.
Yeah, of course it will.
Guys, there is a pendulum here. What goes up must come down. So don't believe that, having a long-term company that ultimately cares about the health and safety of its consumers is ultimately smart for business.
Yep.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now, we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $4.8 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.